last thing I want to talk about, the AFC North. It is so beyond early to start predicting Super Bowl winners, even though we have named the Steelers champion. At least I have like 5 times on this show already, and I'll continue to do so. Michael Robinson of NFL Network and Matt Verdermain of Sports Illustrated both said that the Pittsburgh Steelers are sleepers and that they expect them to win the AFC North this season. I mean, overreaction? Feel pretty good about it? What's your thoughts?
I don't know if I would have put it expect to win the AFC North on that, but I think the Steelers, like, to talk about it in betting terms, like, they'd be a great value, you know?
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most, among the, like, real competitive divisions in football, you know, not talking like AFC South or, what are the other, NFC South too, like those really bad divisions that anyone can win because everyone's going to win, anywhere between 6 and 9 games. I think this is one of the most competitive, but most wide open divisions in football. Partially just because of the rivalries that exist in between, in it, and the level of football that like gets played and the quality of the games that get played. But I also think there are a lot of really good teams, like even the Browns, who I think are the least serious organization in this division, and
Maybe
probably the probably the least talented, maybe not the least talented team.
Yeah,
but
on paper, probably the most talented, but doesn't meet the value.
Yeah. Just I generally think they're the worst team in this division. Even then, I think they could win, 7, 8, 9 games. Like that's not out of the question.
Yep.
I don't mind picking the Steelers at all. Like I think it's entirely possible that the Steelers could pick off the Bengals once, even twice. Like all of their games last year with a much worse roster. I don't think the Bengals changed that much, like noticeably from their roster a year ago. I think they have a good chance to take one, or even they're going to take at least one from the Bengals.
Yeah.
They could take 2. Ravens, I think, is the same deal. Like you always play Lamar tough, even with him there. And then they split their 2 games last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
right?
with Baltimore, Mitch Trubisky. That was the Mitch Trubisky come in and
throwing 2 picks. Yeah.
Yep.
So like you're one less Mitch pick away from sweeping them. I don't hate this at all. I think the Steelers got better in a way. I guess you can consider adding Lamar as getting better for the Ravens. I don't know how you judge that, but
yeah,
I think the Steelers
offense.
I think the Steelers made the most drastic step forward this offseason. So I don't hate these picks at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I look at Cleveland and I say Deshaun Watson carries everything. And, don't get me wrong. I saw something this morning that said Deshaun Watson shines on day 1 of minicamp. And I thought, cool. Deshaun Watson should be shining on day 1 of minicamp. He's a veteran. He is a playoff winning quarterback. The dude was paid like the greatest quarterback of all time. He should be impressing in minicamp. But I think everything rides on him, and I'm, seeing is believing, and that's the end of it. Until Deshaun Watson shows me that he could turn this Browns organization around, I'm not going to believe it. Lamar, that's the same question. Like, is the offense going to be better? Is Odell Beckham Jr. going to be around for all 17 games? We have no idea. Is Lamar going to be healthy? How's that defense going to look? You just lost Marcus Peters, and he's still on the market, and we have no idea what's going to happen there. A lot of questions. And then Cincinnati, which is like, if that's the obstacle, is if you could beat the rest of them, or if you could beat Cincinnati, chances are you got a shot. Like if you have a winning record at the end of the season, if you have 10 plus wins and you swept Cincinnati, you got really good odds of walking away with the AFC North. FanDuel, BetGM, Caesar Sportsbook, and BetRivers all have the Steelers with the lowest odds. So like, the payout's the highest, obviously, but the lowest odds to win the AFC North. It's like plus 500 on Caesars and FanDuel and plus 600 on BetGM and BetRivers, which is, I mean, like even the jump for like the Cleveland Browns on FanDuel are 390, which is.
If I could just bet for the Steelers to finish ahead of the Browns, I would take that. Yeah.
That would be the bet. Easy. I mean, but even Baltimore is a plus 240. Like at that point, you're like, there's a shot. There's a real shot. So even if these guys view it, I think that you also have to take, like, Vegas always knows something, And I think that right now they have to just go off of paper, and paper tells you that the Steelers have the worst team in the AFC North. And I can agree with that one. Like when you are in a division where Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow are the quarterbacks, and you're rocking in here with 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, Kenny Pickett, the worst offensive coordinator in football, you got to be realistic about these betting odds. But I think that there's 2 things that you have to keep in context. Mike Tomlin, which he's Mike Tomlin, and a year after, like, we're not talking to Super Bowl, we're not talking to playoff run, we're talking about winning the AFC North. Mike Tomlin, that is the biggest factor in the AFC. And the Steelers defense, I think, in my opinion, got significantly better than they did a year ago. And if TJ Watt stays healthy for a whole season, like, you got to remember, he missed 10 games and the Steelers went like 2-8 in those 10 games. Like, if he stays healthy for a whole year, I mean, maybe the Steelers could. They have a cakewalk of a schedule on paper, at least. They don't, especially if San Francisco doesn't have a quarterback by week 1. No idea if Sam Darnold walks onto the field at Acrisure Stadium in week 1. You're starting the season as good as you could possibly start the season.
Right.
Like, you're just like, here it is. It's only uphill. It's only downhill from here. I just think that everything's in front of them to have an opportunity. If I'm betting, though, like, I'm not. Joe Burrow holds too high of a ground for me to say, yes, I think they're going to win the AFC North. I just, maybe second, and maybe it's a tight competition, but the Bengals are the Bengals.
That's the other thing. I don't think the Bengals are going to run away with, like, whoever wins this. I think the Bengals are going to win this division, and however many games they win, I don't think they're going to run away with it. I don't think they're going to. I don't think it's like, oh, they're going to win 14 games and everyone else is going to win 10 or something. Like, it's, I think it'll be more like last year where they win 12 and then, like, someone wins 11, someone else wins 12, like 10. Like, it'll be tight, and I'd probably come down to the last week of the season, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, I think the same thing. And I think that their schedule is going to be tough and they got to play some hard games. And I think maybe that works in their favor. But I think, what's your mark? This is a good way to end this. What's your, like, how many games do you think puts you in competition to win the AFC North if you're the Steelers? How many games you got to win?
I think 12. I think 12's got to be your target.
12 is a good number. 12 is a good number. I think if you win 12, I think if you win around 12, like, maybe, I don't think 11 gets it done.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be 12 or higher. Like, I agree. I think if you walk away with 12 wins, you got a fighting shot. If you walk away with 13, I think you got a real good shot. Like, I think at that point, you should be sitting pretty, and 4 losses is tough. But, like I said, if they sweep Cincinnati somehow, some way, if they could pull that off, I'd give them the division, and I'd feel really, really good about that moving forward. But that's a huge if. Huge if. And the fact that they don't have that week 1, let's light a spark, Joe Burrow's coming off appendix surgery, whole 9, changes.
That is the other thing. They play the Bengals twice in 4 weeks, I think. They play week 12 and week 16. That's that's tough.
That's tough. And week 16 is going to be, everybody's fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah. Every single person is going to be fighting for a playoff spot. I will say this, that's Christmas weekend, I believe, at Acrisure Stadium. So people are going to be bumping. It'll be the day before Christmas. And, like, if the Vegas game was insane on Christmas Eve when it was 0 degrees outside, then the day before Christmas, when nobody's got Christmas Eve dinners to go to, at Acrisure Stadium is going to be even wilder. So I do think there's a fighting shot. I don't know. I think it's early, but to get this, to gain the momentum, I think is good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. To have people actually notice them is good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It feels like a year ago we were trying to make up excuses about, this is, Mitch Trubisky's got a shot, blah, blah. Now it's like, this is the facts. This is what we're working with. This is what the Pittsburgh Steelers have to offer. Are they good enough with it? And I think you look at it on paper and you say, yeah, this is better. This is better to work with than they were a year ago. So you got to feel good about it.